Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us here for another edition of our 10 Weather Impact Show here on our Wednesday afternoon. I'm meteorologist Aaron White.
Meteorologist Michael Behrens. I forgot my cue there.
And it's it's a good afternoon. It's a little chilly out there. We've been tracking the cloud cover moving in, and just something we haven't seen in a while. Just these colder temps.
Yeah, I mean, we've had so much unseasonal weather so far through October, and now we've had a little bit of stormy weather this week, a little bit of windy weather this week, and finally getting into some of that cool fall air too.
Yeah, finally settling in, and it's going to be getting even colder. Looking ahead to our Friday forecast, something we actually have not seen in quite some time is freeze watches that have been issued here. So let's go ahead and dive into the forecast this afternoon as we are tracking some changes here as we look ahead to really today. Today's the big day that we've seen this colder air settling in as we've gone through really just tracking this upper level low pressure system as we have seen temperatures into basically in the 40s and 50s here on this afternoon, as we've seen temperatures in the upper 40s, low 50s. It's been windy, but it's actually felt like it's in the 40s here this afternoon as we've had a bit of a wind chill factor. So you're going to need the coats, the jackets here today. You can see live right now we have the cloudy skies over downtown Columbus, and our temperature, 49 degrees. The wind out of the west, southwest at 17, so there's breezy conditions, gusts over 20 here this afternoon, making it feel like it's about 43 right now. And another look, they're showing just overcast skies here. And as we go through the next several hours, our temperatures are going to be holding in the upper 40s to around 50, so really not making any progress in our temperatures here today. And later on this evening, we will start to see the clouds slowly fade away, and a little bit of clear skies will allow our temperatures to get on the chillier side here tonight, dipping in to the lower 40s as we get closer to tomorrow morning. However, as we go into the day on Friday, we actually have frost and freeze potential as we have freeze watches now in effect across a large part of central Ohio. And that means our temperatures will be dipping into the upper 20s to lower 30s for some locations, not everyone. Most of us will at least get to the mid 30s, and areas further to the north and east where we don't have any watches, cloudy skies are going to keep our temperatures from getting too cold. But for other areas here, we will see at least clear skies, maybe a few clouds around. And the further west you go, it does appear like our temperatures will be the coldest, down into, again, potential upper 20s and low 30s. So frost and freeze potential is there here by Friday morning. Meanwhile, as we talk about the colder air, we are not quite cold enough to be getting any snow. However, it has happened, and including on today's date, back in 1925, 100 years ago, we had our earliest 1-inch snowfall measured in Columbus. So it can snow in October, just not very often. These are the only times where we've had measurable snowfall in Columbus. So as we get into November, though, that'll start to change as we could actually see our first snow of the season as early as November, maybe even December. So we'll have to see how the rest of the fall season goes. But meanwhile, today we are tracking those colder conditions, and we have the cloudy skies across all of central Ohio. To our north, we are tracking a few rain showers, and this is all associated with this big upper level low pressure system that's just been spinning, kicking the clouds in, kicking a few showers in, and kicking in the colder air. So that is our story here for the next few days as this low pressure system continues to build to the east. It's pulling in that colder air, and as we get closer to tomorrow and Friday morning, again, it's going to pull even colder conditions down, and we're talking about temperatures down into the 30s by Friday morning, and not too far away, more widespread 20s. So this is going to be some of the coldest air of the season for not just here in Ohio, but a large part of the Midwest, seeing some frost and freeze potential here going into Friday morning, and potentially again even Saturday morning, as we will likely be down into the 30s. Meanwhile, for the rest of this afternoon, tracking that chance for a few spotty showers, most of that going to stay north of I-70 and really closer to Cleveland here for today. But we are going to be locked into the cloud cover, and then later on tonight we may see some clear skies, and that would allow temperatures to get into the low 40s, perhaps even upper 30s for some locations. As we go into Thursday, Starting off with some sunshine, but the clouds will start to roll in, and there's even a chance for a couple spotty showers during the afternoon, but most of that again also staying north of I-70. A lot more sunshine further to the south, so that'll mean warmer temperatures further south. So areas around Chillicothe, Jackson, Piketon could make it up into the upper 50s. Meanwhile, other areas with the cloud cover may stay in, be stuck into the lower 50s here for the afternoon. Our forecast, though, for today, 52 for a high. Cloudy skies continue. Winds will be west at 15 to 20, but gusts could be as high as 30 miles per hour here for this afternoon. Cloudy skies will continue for a time tonight. There will be a little bit of clearing here and there, allowing for us to dip down to about 40 for an overnight low. And then looking ahead to the 7-day forecast, we are calling for temperatures to rebound a little bit going into our Thursday and Friday. A little sunshine may help to get us up to 54 for a high on Thursday. Again, areas south of Columbus getting into the upper 50s, areas to the north of Columbus getting into the lower 50s with the cloudy skies. But we should see a fair amount of sunshine going into our Friday. Again, chilly start to the day into the 30s, 56 for a high on Friday, and the weekend right now is looking dry. It's also looking quite nice as we have upper 50s to lower 60s here. A dry weekend as we were potentially tracking a system that could bring us some rain here over the weekend. That's going to stay to our west. Our next round of any rain arrives by Tuesday of next week, but at least our temperatures are going up to more seasonal conditions with highs into the lower 60s. And by Halloween, our average high is down to 59 degrees. Wow. So not unusual to see a 7-day forecast like this, but thankfully we're not seeing any of that snow that I mentioned. 100 years ago today, again, the first measurable 1 inch of snowfall. So not having that today.
Yeah, thankfully not having that today. But of course, like you said, we are getting deeper and deeper into the year, and we're almost to that part of the year. We're almost to that winter season out there. And, while it's not quite here yet, as those temperatures do drop out there, the seasonal workers, they're starting to prepare for those coming snows, including today with the Ohio Department of Transportation as they begin checking those trucks.
Yeah, 'tis the season for that. Get ready for the winter ahead because we all know around here, anything can happen when it comes to snow and ice. So transportation reporter Amy Steigerwald is at a garage with a look at the process.
Today, the 15 counties here in central Ohio that the Ohio Department of Transportation covers will be checking all of their snowplows to make sure they're ready for the winter season. More than 99,000 tons of salt will be delivered in the coming days to prepare for any potential snowfall. Workers in Districts 5 and 6 are responsible for plowing nearly 8,600 lane miles during any given snowfall and will check all trucks for issues today. Mechanics conduct 150-point inspections, which involve checking everything from plow lights, blades, and salt spinners. Right now, select counties in central Ohio are still looking for seasonal snowplow drivers. This comes as a record number of Ohio Department of Transportation vehicles have been hit on the side of the road so far this year.
Last year in the 2024-2025 winter season, our plows were struck 54 times. So that's 54 more times than they should have been struck. We always want that number to be closest to zero as possible.
Now there are more than 300 trucks that cover this entire region, and they still do need seasonal drivers. You can apply on ODOT's website or head over to this story at 10tv.com. In Delaware County, Amy Steigerwald for 10TV News.
And thank you, Amy, for that update. And now let's take a look at the tropics. It's been a bit of an interesting year so far. And I know despite our chilly weather here in Ohio, Michael, you are keeping an eye on a couple of systems, one especially that's just developed here recently.
Yeah, those storms out there, kind of late in the year now, but believe it or not, actually could become a major storm here in the next couple of days. So I want to go ahead and show you the latest in the tropics right now. This is Tropical Storm Melissa. It's out there spinning near South America. You can see that right now about 320 miles south-southwest of Port-au-Prince in Haiti. Winds 50 miles per hour, gusts up to 65. It's not the strongest storm at the moment, but in terms of the pressures, that is. But it is expected to rapidly intensify here. You can see those alerts up on Hispaniola toward the north and continuing out toward the west there. The official forecast for Melissa doesn't really take it all that far. It kind kind of just sits down here in those warm waters over the next couple of days. And even toward the end of the forecast period, it really hasn't moved all that far. We're up to a Category 3, though, by the time we head toward the end of this forecast. And then, of course, we'll have to keep an eye on where it goes from there, because that's just the kind of extent of where we have it predicted as of now. We got to watch what becomes of that Category 3 as we get further into the future. As far as the rest of the tropics go, not looking at much activity, nothing out here forecast to become a storm. So it's really just Melissa that we're watching. We'll show you the hour by hour down there as that storm continues to push its way ever so slowly toward the west. This is by the weekend. You can still see that circulation down there that would be Melissa by Sunday morning. So again, this will be one to watch here as it makes that ramp up to Category 3 status, just not particularly a very mobile storm, at least not as of right now. We'll give you a refresher on the hurricane season so far. What we've seen out there has been a pretty active year in terms of names, but not a lot of landfalls, especially not here in the U.S. Most of our systems so far this year have been tropical storms. We have had a number of pretty strong storms out there, including Erin as a Category 5, Umberto as a Category 5, Gabrielle a 4, and Imelda was a 2. And again, Melissa right now forecast to make its way up to a 3. That official outlook for this year remains 14 named storms on average, with a forecast of 13 to 19. 7 of those on average hurricanes. That's pretty much right in line with the forecast. And 3 to 5 major hurricanes. We've already seen 3 of those so far this year.
Yeah.
We could see a 4th by, well, the weekend.
Yeah, very interesting watching how Melissa is going to be developing here over the next several days. I know at one point it had the track going over to the island of Hispaniola over Haiti and Dominican Republic, but now that's been revised because it's just kind of sitting there, not a lot of motion, nothing to really kind of push it along, as we've seen with Erin when it was over the Atlantic. It kind of gets picked up by the jet stream and then moves off the Atlantic, and that's not happening with that system. So
yeah, not happening with that system. So it's going to be really worth keeping an eye on here in the days ahead. And one of the ways we actually do get information about systems like hurricanes is through something called a weather balloon. But now the National Transportation Safety Board is looking at an incident that was involving a United Airlines 737 MAX and one of those balloons.
Yeah, it actually was en route from Denver to Los Angeles last week, and when something slammed into the windshield, forcing an emergency landing, Chris Van Cleve has that report.
What slammed into the windshield of United Flight 1093 Thursday at 36,000 feet? It left clear signs of an impact and sent glass flying into the cockpit, apparently injuring a pilot.
We do have an emergency aircraft that's inbound.
That's when the pilot came on and did the emergency broadcast where he said, "Folks, unfortunately, I have some bad news. An object has collided with the aircraft and shattered a window in the cockpit."
Heather Ramsey was among the 140 on board.
There was so much tension, and it really just felt like everyone was collectively holding their breath until the very end. Even when we touched down, we didn't know a lot of the details, and we didn't know how severe things were, if people were injured.
It now appears it was likely a lightweight weather balloon similar to this one launched by Windborne Systems. The company says it coordinates its flights with the FAA and has alerted the NTSB. CEO John Dean.
We saw that the trajectory in terms of the location and altitude of the balloon matched up with the aircraft trajectory. And we also lost communication with this particular balloon right around the time that the incident seemed to occur. And so that tells me the most likely explanation was a collision with a windborne balloon.
Weather data is important, but there were 140 people on that airplane.
Absolutely. The system is designed to not pose a threat, significant threat to an aircraft in the event of collision. But it is critical to make sure that an event like this doesn't happen again.
Windborne says they're already making safety changes, but hundreds of weather balloons are launched in the U.S. every day and can reach up to 65,000 feet. It's not something that pilots can easily spot or track while in flight. Ultimately, it will be up to the NTSB to determine if, in fact, it was a weather balloon that slammed into that airliner. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Phoenix.
And now to some news about our environment. 10 years after nearly 200 nations negotiated the historic Paris Climate Agreement to address global climate change, many of those goals appear to be off track.
Yeah, the 2025 report looking at the state of the climate action found none of the 45 action items in the Paris Agreement are on target to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now, some of those include phasing out coal and ending public finance for fossil fuels, which are increasing emissions, while there is progress in other areas.
We're seeing record growth in solar and wind, electric vehicles taking off. We actually do have solutions, but we need to scale them much, much faster if we're going to meet the Paris Agreement goals.
Researchers also recommended accelerated action to expand public transportation and reduce beef and lamb consumption in regions that consume a lot of those food resources. And world leaders are set to meet next month in Brazil to continue to address the climate crisis.
And a weather and climate disaster database the Trump administration retired in May has been given new life by a nonprofit. The database tracks extreme weather disasters that cause $1 billion or more in damage to property and other infrastructure.
Yeah, it's the first update at its new site, but the database shows that with $101 billion in losses, the first 6 months of 2025 have been the most expensive first 6 months of any year since 1980. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration used to host this database. Its administrator now, Adam Smith, took an early retirement, or its previous administrator that is, earlier this year as part of the Trump administration's push to shrink the federal bureaucracy.
Yeah, the decision to discontinue the database was partly due to his departure, but the climate research nonprofit Climate Central has since hired him to rebuild and host the database there.
Glad we got the database back.
Yeah.
And here locally, speaking of things for our environment, Southwest Licking Schools is expected to get a boost from a major solar project that's being built in the southwestern part of the county. That's between Etna and Pataskala.
Yeah, it's the Union Ridge Solar Project and is expected to produce hundreds of thousands for the tax base for the district and Harrison Township.
The treasurer for Southwest Licking Schools says the money can be used for things like band and sports equipment, plus technology. He also says that the district is growing, so it's trying to get a ballot measure passed so it can build new spaces and let students spread out a little bit. 10 TV's Colin Dorsey asked him about this.
If these bonds and these levies continue to fail, what does the future look like?
Well, basically, it's going to go back to what we had before. We had modular classrooms in all of our elementaries. You know, we had, I think, Kirksville had 6, and Pataska had 4, Etna had 4. You know, because space, you know, our high school, you know, that's going to be still really tight.
The Union Ridge Solar Project is expected to be completed by early next year.
And finally today, let's check out some new video here. Check out this. This was from California. This is lightning seen over the desert there out in California. And, you know, it happens on occasion that you get thunderstorms in, some of those dry locations, and those thunderstorms actually produce several clouded ground lightning strikes that you see there, along with some heavy rainfall. And actually over the past few weeks, not even just in California, but other parts of the desert Southwest, including Arizona and even southwestern Colorado, have been dealing with numerous thunderstorms, heavy rainfall, and even some flash flooding.
Yeah, I know some of those southwestern areas can kind of be known for these lightning storms a little bit, and it's just really impressively active video there of one of those storms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from the rainy and stormy skies to something much different, check out this stunning sunset. This was the sky over Los Angeles yesterday evening. Not sure if that's probably from one of their helicopters there, but that is a beautiful shot there of the sunset with the clouds coming down.
Just spectacular. Yeah. I can only imagine all the people at the beaches there in California just watching this and just staring at the sunset, enjoying it as we are now. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta love video like that, and you gotta love those views out there. It's been a little gloomy here lately in central Ohio. Maybe we can get some of those back, probably not today, but later this week. We might be able to get some of those sunsets back here in our picture.
Yeah, hopefully by Friday we'll have a little bit more sunshine. It's gonna be a little bit chilly, but hey, at least we'll have some sun shining eventually.
Yeah,
just not today.
It'll come back one day.
Yeah. Well, that'll do it for us here today on our 10 Weather Impact show. Coming up later on this evening, Chief Meteorologist Jerry Martz will be in to talk about the frost and freeze potential on Friday. So as always, you can always catch more news and weather online at 10tv.com.
Have a great afternoon.